Our 2019 season was one of the coolest seasons in Boondock Nation history. From the 2 trips to Canada, to our AST1 class up in Valemount, Meeker, Colorado, Idaho, Wyoming, you name it, we were there. I knew it was going to be a hard one to top, so this season we had to do it right.
The progression that we saw as riders in the 2019 season was unparalleled. I think we put about 60 days on the snow in the mountains. When you're riding that much, you really become one with the snowmobile that you're on. The ability to be able to go anywhere and be able to say, I want to go to the top of that mountain and know you can make it no problem is a feeling that I cannot describe. To get to that point last season and be able to anticipate this season and carrying that progression forward, it just gets me so excited. One thing I've always loved doing on a snowmobile ever since I was a little kid, building jumps in my horse pasture, is getting the sled off the ground. Typically, we like to hit jumps that are upwards of 100, 150 feet. When you're hitting jumps of that size, it's really important to be completely confident and completely familiar with your sled. The big news in the snowmobile industry last year was Ski-Doo's release of the first ever 2-stroke factory turbo. We both jumped on that right away and ordered them up in the spring.
How can you not?
Because we knew if we could get that power that we usually get back home in Wisconsin up here in the mountains, it would be a game changer for this season. The anticipation of having that much more horsepower under us was huge.
Changing brands is a huge thing in the snowmobiling world. Not only do all snowmobiles have different benefits these days, but they all perform extremely well. Once you get used to something, you kind of tend to just stick with it and learn the chassis and just improve on the skills that you have based around the fundamentals of how the chassis handles. I changed it up this year, wanted to go with Ski-Doo. Obviously, it's hard to argue with the horsepower that these things are putting out. I figured it was worth the trade-off of knowing my handling to go to something that's more powerful and I'm probably gonna love once I get used to it. That was a lot of a learning curve for me. It took almost 2 weeks for me to get used to changing chassis and get used to the horizontal steering post rather than the vertical. It just changes the ergonomics and pretty much everything about the way the sled handles. As you probably see out there on Instagram and social media platforms, a lot of people are into modding their sleds to the hills. Obviously, super cool if you've got a secondary sled, but in our case, we just like to do things tastefully, stuff that is going to help the functionality and basically serve the purpose that these things need to for our use. We just put on suspension, tune them, wrap them, and voila, you got a sled that is as dialed as it gets, essentially, and never really skipped a beat all season long.
Yeah, what's so cool about how far snowmobiles have come in the last decade or two is that these machines, right out of the box, they're so much more capable straight from the factory. It's amazing.
Stay tuned for more of our winter adventures. Welcome back to Boondock Nation. One of my favorite things that we do to our sleds every season is wrap them. Being that we get a new sled every year, it allows the opportunity of what the wrap might be to be endless. We're thinking over the summer months, what is our sled gonna be? And whatever the design and color is, really dictates the name of what your snowmobile is gonna be for the season. And let me tell you, the name is a big deal in the snowmobiling world.
Our sleds, when they came out of the box, they were just twins, completely black. I wanted to go with some earth tones and some unique colors that I had not really seen on a snowmobile before. I also am a big classic rock fan, and the lead singer of America has a place in my hometown. One of my favorite road trip songs of all time is Sister Golden Hair by America. I've always wanted to name a sled that, and this is the year. So with my wrap colors, I thought Sister Golden Hair was the perfect name.
My sled being that it was a blue sled, blue and silver, and I've been going with space themed names for the last couple years. Blue Moon I thought was the appropriate name for the sled I was on this season.
I've been on this chassis for 4 years, but this motor is something completely different.
Yeah.
So this is essentially the sled that I've been on, I'm comfortable with more power. So we weren't exactly sure what we'd have to do to these things to make them even sweeter. Fortunately, our partner at Bikeman Performance, Jared Sessions out here, has a thing called Torque Link. So Jared, what makes Torque Link different than any other tuning out there?
I mean, so Torque Link is cloud-based, so as we develop better tunes and more updates, it's not like you're waiting for a tune, you just plug in, flash latest update, and you're done. As you go up in elevation, you lose the naturally aspirated portion of it. You just get the 4 pounds of boost or whatever Skidoo does. But as we go up, we continue to add and add and add, so we get that same 195 or 185 or whatever we're tuned at all the way up, so we're not, having to readjust our clutching or anything like that.
It sounds like these things are gonna run really awesome, and the fact that we're not gonna have to mess with them once we get them set is that much better.
Definitely. Well, we got our Torque Link account set up this morning. We've got our ECM licenses, so now we're ready to tune.
All right, guys, so we're gonna drop a tune in this thing. It's a pretty simple process. First thing I usually do is I make sure the kill switch is off, tether's undone, that way it doesn't try to power the fuel pump. We're gonna plug the Torque Link tuning device into the diagnostic. Now that we're in here, we've got these tunes. So we've got a 10 horse version 1, we've got a 20 horse, a 30 horse, a 45 horse. So right now we're gonna give this one here a B2. We're gonna do some clutching on this thing, see how it goes. We're gonna push flash ECU, and it's that simple. This one device just communicates with the cloud. You just have to have the right cable. It doesn't matter if it's a Polaris Razor, a Polaris Snowmobile, a Skidoo. If you have a group of guys, 10 guys in your riding group, you only need one flash device and just 10 licenses, and this one device will flash everybody's snowmobiles.
Doing this tuning process might sound like it's kind of weird. Thankfully, Bikeman, with their product Torque Link, has really simplified the process.
We've been fortunate to be able to play around with a few tunes and test out some different things between stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 this year. There's even a stage 4, which we haven't tried out.
It's been a lot of fun working with Jared, who is behind the scenes developing all these tunes for Bikeman. He's helped dial us in and make sure our sleds are performing at the best ability that they can.
So yeah, once your ECU is licensed, any update, any flash, you can throw in there.
You can just go back.
You can go to stock, you can go to 10 horse. One day you're riding with the big dogs and you want to throw race gas in there, throw the 45 horsepower tune in there, adjust your clutching, and you can go, it's just that quick. 2 minutes and a little bit of clutch adjustment and you're good to go.
That's so slick.
The technology within this tuning is just unbelievable. It's second to none in the industry.
I would recommend anyone that's looking to tune their new factory 850 turbo Skidoo that you go with either the stage 1 or the stage 2. It seems to be the most responsive all around and just benefit you wherever you're looking for power.
Hey guys, during the break, grab your phone and follow us on social media. Welcome back. This is Boondock Nation. This year, we want our sleds to be extremely reliable and extremely well-rounded.
Normally we build our sleds in the trailer, but this year we were super thankful. Chris Patrikas at Trackside and Eagle River hooked it up. Let us use the shop to build our sleds. We didn't even have to let them leave the dealership before we started putting parts on them. That was probably one of the coolest things we've had to do yet. I mean, to be able to have all the right tools, the right setting, to be able to do it in the shop was just sick. It was the ideal scenario for getting our sleds dialed in before we moved out here.
Being able to open up 2 crates with brand new snowmobiles in them, pull them out, put them together with the guys at Trackside, and then start throwing aftermarket parts on. 0 miles, these sleds were dialed.
These things were just set up and ready to hit the snow like nothing even stopped them because they never hit the snow before.
Diverse conditions require a lot of different skills. The snow was a little bit weird this year and inconsistent. One of the most important things you can do to a snowmobile to adjust for all kinds of conditions is suspension. So we put Raptor shocks on all around our sleds and even did some different rear skid configuration with their Raptor Ace kit to have the adjustability to dial our sleds in for changing conditions. So here we got the entire Raptor Ace suspension. These are the kinetic shocks. These have full compression and rebound adjustment, plus a sweet cam that allows you to adjust the spring at a pretty macro rate on the fly when you're out on the mountain. So we got the skid assembled. I'm just putting a little preload here in my rear track shock while it's out of the sled, and then we're gonna throw it back under. Once we do that, we'll throw the front shocks on, and these things are gonna start looking a little bit different.
That was probably one of the most noticeable things that we had on our sleds all season. I have never had aftermarket suspension on my sleds before, admittedly. So coming into this year, I was so stoked to have the best suspension in the snowmobile industry underneath me and really knowing that sky's the limit. Out with the old, in with the new. But this is new, so it's not very old.
So out with the new and in with the new, also
The new. Having suspension that's set up for all conditions is so confidence inspiring. From hard pack on sketchy side hills, to jumps, to just even bombing up the trail at 40 miles an hour through whoops. This stuff takes it all and for sure makes your body last longer.
We both reinforced our suspension rails as those tend to bend. We added clutch kits to make the clutches a little more responsive, and I geared mine down with a belt drive. And then we did charge tubes as well. There's some early season rumors floating around that the stock Skidoo charge tubes were blown out, so we went ahead and replaced those right away to not have that issue.
Especially since we were going to be turning up the power on these things, charge tubes were mandatory. The guys at Bikeman recommended we do those right away, so that was like the first thing we did. Put a couple 100 miles on them, broke them in, and then we threw tunes at them to see what kind of power they would start to make. To see more Boondock Nation content, download our app available on Apple and Android.
Hey, we're back, and you're watching another episode of Boondock Nation.
Just getting the first few squeezes of the throttle here and over revving just a touch. So we're gonna change the position of the set screws in my weight. We'll see if that makes a difference or not, but oh man, is the power difference substantial from stock.
moving the set screw just a little bit further in just to change the shift rate. So we're just gonna move the weight more into the middle and get a little bit more aggressive, you know, on the upshift right off the initial. You might just make a big bump.
Tuning tables.
All right, now that we made that adjustment, I'm just gonna go take a little rip here and just see if it feels any different. It feels a little bit better. It should, theoretically. So we'll see what progress we made. We might have looked past the break-in point a little bit this year. It was pretty hard to break them in when you're feeling the power of the turbo. So there were some definite mandatory wheelies that happened on day one just to make sure that these things were all that they cracked up to be.
Yeah, I say break it in the way you're gonna ride it.
These things are definitely making some serious power now. Not only do we want our sleds to be reliable, but literally every product that we use has to perform 100% of the time for us. When we're on production, we only have a limited amount of days to capture what we need. So when we're going to a place, we have the proper trailer. We take our trails west literally everywhere in the winter. It's our home, it's our shop, and our base of operations when we're on the road. Our truck, the GMC Denali pulling us around, that thing has been great. Been absolutely loving how well that thing tows. And with the 10-speed, just cranks right up the hills. You can go like almost 80 miles an hour and not even be at 2,000 RPMs pulling a 42-foot long snowmobile trailer. That's impressive.
Yeah, I'd say. In the year that we've had, it's been really difficult to get people together. You know, the snowmobile community is spread out across the United States and Canada. Trade shows, the entire industry looks forward to them, and Heydays being the biggest one over in Minnesota typically draws about 50,000 people a year, and we always like to throw a big party there. Since we weren't able to do any of that this year, it was super refreshing to get everybody together out in Island Park, Idaho, and have a good old time at Sawtell Mountain Resort. Seeing all the faces, having a little live music, and being able to have some drinks and just share some stories from the first few weeks of the season was incredible.
It was definitely a weekend that I will never forget. Lots of memories made at Out West Sled Fest. First of its kind event, and we'll see if we do one again in the future. Boondock Nation Season 6 overall, I would say is a huge success. We put on more days on the snow than we ever have, worked twice as hard to produce more videos, and ridden our sleds twice as much as we did last season.
Early season riding has provided us with deep snow, fast sleds, and good people, but we're just getting started.
It's time, we got the sleds broken in, and the snow is falling, so we're gonna hit the road and begin our travels through the beautiful state of Idaho.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
This season had a lot of what word was I about to use there? Ambiguity? No.
Variable
Yeah.
or unknown, I don't know.
I got.
Do you love the camp chairs?
I'm so stoked. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, gotta get weird with it.
Bingo, bango, bongo. I'll start saying something and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I already said this to this person. I'll be like I said earlier.